The new rich, the illusion of abundance. Raka's day began before the sun had fully risen. The city already humming with an urgency he felt deep in his bones. The glass towers outside his apartment reflected a sky smoked with a gray, mirroring the exhaustion that clung to him like a second skin. His suit was pressed, knotted tightly, an armor for the battlefield of endless meetings, endless expectations. He moved mechanically, coffee in one hand, phone in the other, scanning emails with a practice detachment, somewhere between financial reports and shallow congratulations. A thought hovered uninvited. What am I really building? The question was whispered, drowned by the noise of success. By noon, his throat was dry, his hands trembling slightly as he signed another deal. The applause of clients felt hollow. On the right back, the city's glittering surface mocked him. Neon signs promising fulfillment, but he felt an emptiness. That evening at a gallery opening, and even he had agreed to attend out of obligation rather than desire, Raka found himself straining before a painting that defied his usual understanding of value. The canvas was simple, almost raw splashes of color that seemed chaotic yet intentional. Nearby, a woman observed the painting with quiet intensity. Sari, she was the opposite of everything Raka represented. Barefoot on the hardwood floor, her hair untamed, eyes alive with curiosity rather than calculation. Her presence was a contradiction to his work of polished facades. You see disorder. Disorder? She said softly. It's reading her mind, but I see a freedom. Raka blinked. Caught off guard, he nodded unsure how to respond. She smiled. A hint of challenge in her gaze. What's well to you? He considered the question. The suits, the meetings, the money. It was everything and nothing. Security? Power? Mechanism? Sari shook her head gently. I think that's the illusion of abundance. True wealth isn't count in numbers or applause. It's found a moment that money can buy. Raka lips pressed together, a mixture of skepticism and something like longing stirring inside. As the crowd around them moved on, Sarah turned and disappeared into the hum of gallery. Raka remained staring at the painting, feeling a crack from in the carefully built walls of his life. That night, in his apartment, he opened a notebook, something he hadn't done in years. The pen trembled in hand as he wrote a single line. I carry the weight of what I chase, but what am I truly holding? He reread the words, settling like a quiet confession. The illusion of abundance had been stripped bare, revealing a hollow core. Outside, the city lights flickered, and different inside something had shifted. For the first time in a long while, Raka wondered if he could find a different kind of richness, of wealth measured not by counts but by meaning. A different wealth. The morning lights filtered softly through the cracked windows of Sari's studio, a small sunlit room filled with canvases, scattered brushes, and the scent of fresh paint. Sarah greeted him with a warm smile, barefoot and relaxed, her hair loosely tied back. Welcome to my chaos, she said, gesturing around. Raka sat on worn wooden stool, feeling oddly out of place amidst the explosion of color and life. It's different, he said. That's the point, Sarah replied. We chase order, control, but sometimes richness is found in the unexpected. She handed him a small sketchbook filled with delicate lines and poetic scribbles. I keep this to remind myself that wealth isn't just material, it's moments, connection, creativity, it's being present. I can flip through the pages, pausing a poem scribbled beneath a faint drawing. In empty spaces, I find the room to breathe, not wealth of gold, but the richness of peace. He looked up at her intrigued. But how do you choose this when everything around us measures success by what you have? Sari's eyes softened because I've seen people with everything and nothing inside. I've learned that money can build walls but not bridges. It can buy things but not freedom. They walked to the nearby park where children played and old friends sat chatting on benches. Sari pointed to men sketching quietly under a tree. That's Joko, my neighbor. He works part-time as a gardener, but spends his morning capturing moments most people miss. He's rich, in a way. Money can touch. Raka listened, sensing something stirring inside him, a mix of longing and hesitation. But back at the studio, Sari encouraged him to try something. Write the what richness means to you. Don't think too much. Just write. He hesitated, then took the pen. The scratch of ink against paper sounded foreign yet comforting. Richness is not the weight of gold, but the lightness of breath, the quiet in chaos, the space to be. Reading the words, Raka felt a crack in his mirror, a beginning fragile but true. That evening, as the city's neon glare softened tonight, Raka sat alone, notebook in hand. The noise of his old world felt distant, replaced by a stillness he hadn't known before. He realized that the pursuit of wealth had blinded him to the richness of life's small, ordinary moments, and Sari's world, messy, unpredictable, authentic, he glimpsed a new kind of abundance. The next day, he resolved to explore this unfamiliar path, knowing it would not be easy but perhaps necessary. The pull of old chains, the cold buzz of his phone, startled Raka awake. A message from his former boss, filled with reminders of meetings, targets, and deadlines. The familiar pull tugged at him like ghosts, an echo of the life he was trying to leave behind. Raka stared at the screen, the glow harsh in dim room. For a moment, he considered replying, diving back into the rhythm he knew so well. But the weight in his chest told him otherwise. Later, at a quiet cafe, Raka met Sari again. She looked radiant in her simplicity, while he felt the tension of two worlds colliding inside him. So the research is likely true freedom isn't the absence of fear, it's choosing what to fear, choosing yourself. The words settled in the silence between them. That evening alone in his apartment, Raka sifted through old emails, pictures, and contracts. Tokens of a life once revealed, memories came crashing in, praise, celebration, but also loneliness, exhaustion, and quiet despair. He opened his notebook and wrote, "Chains of gold still pain, shiny but heavy. Do I break or bear?" Sleep eluded him. The next day, family called. Their voices carried concern masked as pressure. "Raka, you're throwing away your future," they warned. He felt the weight of their hopes pressing down, but also the fragile strength growing within. Meeting Sari again, he confessed his fears. "How did you do it? How did you let go?" She smiled softly. eyes full of stories. By realizing that some parts of me needed to die for the new me to live. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Raka realized his old life wasn't just a chapter, it was a habit, comfort, even a prison. He promised himself to keep walking the uncertain path one step at a time. Reclaiming the self, dawn broke gently over the city, soft pings spilling into the sky, casting a quiet promise on the stories below. Raka stood by his apartment windows watching the day awaken for the first time in months. He did not feel the familiar knot of anxiety tightening in his chest. Instead, there was something new, a fragile, tender calm. He held the small sketchbook Sari had given him, its pages a tapestry of raw thoughts, colors, and poems that echoed the journey inside himself. Each word felt like a stepping stone guiding him away from the shadows he had long carried. That morning he decided to walk without destination. His steps carried him to a small park where an ancient banyan tree stood, root-tangled and sprawling, a silent witness a countless season of change. He touched its rough bark, grounding himself in the present under the tree, a weather bench invited rest. He sat closed in his eyes, inhaling the earthy scent of moss and leaves. The world around him filled like with quiet miracles, birdsong, children laughter, and the rustle of wind weaving stories through branches. In his pockets, the pen waited. He pulled out his notebook and wrote slowly, deliberately. Not all who wander are lost. Some find themselves in letting go. In the space between fear and hope, I breathe anew, unbound, whole. The words settled deep within, as if the tree itself whispered them into his soul. He thought of Sari's words, how parts of himself had to die for the new self to be born. It was lost, but it wasn't lost, but transformation. Raka stood, feeling the sunlight warm his face. He looked out over the city, no longer a battlefield but a place of stories yet to be told. For the first time, he understood that peace wasn't a destination but a choice, a daily act of kindness toward oneself. He smiled softly and folded the notebook, carrying it like a talisman. Walking away from the banyan tree, he felt light, his steps free, not because he had escaped his past, but because he had embraced the journey within.